Hi, America, and welcome to the Home Front. You have made it home. We are the show for you. You know, we're a panelist of women that really believe we should have the freedom to talk about the topics that are important to us. I'm about to get us banned on YouTube. You ready? The fake vaccine, fake news media, the occupier in chief at the White House. So if you've heard what I've said and you kind of are nodding your head in agreement, you have found the show for you. This is the Home Front. We're so excited you're here with us. Ladies, thank you for joining me today. We're going to start. Should we start at this end this time?
Oh, no.
Allie doesn't want to go first. We will start. Oh, that means I got to go first.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
Okay,
You
so
are not exempt, ma'am.
I love it. Our question today we're going to give our first name and then we're going to tell what advice would you give your 16-year-old self? And for some of us, we have to think really far back in the Rolodex to figure that out. So let's see. My name is Michelle Posey. My 16-year-old self, what could I tell her? I would tell, this might seem shallow.
Uh-oh.
You have the waistline you've always wanted. 16, wear the bathing suit, wear the shorts, just have fun, because I feel like you don't become comfortable in your own skin till like 30-ish.
Your skin changes.
And then you go back and you look at pictures and you're like, why did I feel so insecure back then? Embrace who you are. Love who you are. I think that was what I would say.
Very good, very good. I have a ton of advice for my 16-year-old self. Most of it can be wrapped up with...
Name first.
My name's Michelle. My dad will want that on film because my advice to my 16-year-old self is believe your father and just listen to what he says.
That's sweet.
that.
I love it.
I'm Brianna, and my advice to my 16-year-old self would be that it wasn't my fault. That all the things that happened to me that I was struggling with, none of it was my fault.
Well, that touched my heart, Brianna. You're going to make me cry.
If you start crying, I'll start crying. No.
Okay.
Okay.
We have tissues.
Yes, we do. No, that was great. I struggle with this because a lot of things have happened in my age 16. I left home. I did lots of different things. So for me, I would say you're worth it.
Oh, that's
You're worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my thing. You're worth it.
That's good. I feel like this is going to be a heavy episode.
I can feel it.
It's heavy already. My goodness. 16. My 16-year-old self, what would I say? Oh, goodness. There's a lot there. I think I would just tell myself to just be courageous. Be courageous. Don't give up.
Why does it seem like I guess we just develop that sometimes later on in life, and I feel like a lot of what we have going on in our country that centers around what's the attacks that are being done on our kids in high school for their minds, the battleground of the mind, even in colleges, it's because they're sort of malleable at that age, right? And we don't have, we don't always have that courage that we have maybe later in our 30s and 40s. I actually didn't plan on this, but I kind of feel the presence of God here to be able to talk about the hurt that a lot of us are feeling. We are living in a very heavy time period, in my opinion. We've had a lot of death, whether you're talking about going through COVID or even isolation, right? We were just talking that 4 years ago, a whole generation of kids lost out on prom and graduation, and now they're getting ready to do it again because of the protests. Yeah. I don't know how you get through that without faith, but what words of wisdom do you have to share, even with our viewers at home, that probably sense that same heaviness of it's like a spiritual attack that the country's under?
Well, I think it goes to Brianna's advice for her 16-year-old self. Like, it's not your fault. I mean, to an extent, it's adults, right, who haven't been courageous, who haven't stepped in the role of being protectors of their children and defending their children. But it's not the child's fault. It's not. We have, predators that are, attacking our kids, and we have people that are just using and abusing our children, and then we have people that aren't getting the help that they need, and then we have professionals that are bending the knee to agencies that are, corrupting their profession. I mean, there's a lot there, but just keep going. I mean, you have to have faith in something. And if it's not faith in something that's hopeful, something that you can lean on, or people that you can lean on, I think that is where we tend to get lost. So don't lose that.
There's a lot of advice that I would give my 16-year-old self that, I mean, we'd have like a 3-hour-long episode.
I'm saying.
But I mean, one thing that I know that people my age are struggling with that luckily I am on the other end of, but the way that I got to the other end of it was not right. It was a traumatic experience that no one should ever have to go through.
Right.
So on the other end of it now, looking back, I can give advice to people my age and younger, especially girls, that you are good enough and you do not have to do something for the pleasure of someone else.
Right.
It's okay to be alone and you are enough.
So good.
That is so
And just hearing those 3 words, like you'd be surprised how young girls how long they go before they actually hear those 3 words.
Yes.
I didn't hear those words until I was about 16, 17.
Well, I didn't hear those words till I was almost an adult, or probably an adult. Well into my adulthood, I think.
Well, and speaking, you know, because I'm sure a lot of our viewers put 2 and 2 together. Brianna's my daughter. The one thing that you fight the hardest for, like for me, as somebody who survived abuse as a child, somebody in the family, the number one thing I said is when I become a mom, never my daughter, she'll never be out of my sight. And so I homeschooled her, and I was the hovering helicopter mom. And in one instance, when she was 13, it just, you know, it happens.
But here's the thing, if I could go back and do it over again, I don't think I would change a single thing that happened to me, because I can now wrap my arms around and hug and relate and protect so many more people than I could have if that wouldn't have happened to me.
Oh, Brianna, that's amazing.
So it's the redemption quality in Christ, right? Because without that, we don't have any hope of restoration. And that's why I was thinking with this segment, you know, I know it's a little heavier than what we normally cover on the home
Right.
front. But ladies, we're
It's
sipping
necessary.
coffee. We're sitting at our table. You're lucky we don't have our feet up on the table. It's the place to have these conversations, to never stop praying, because I've had to learn, right? We learn as adults too that God can go into those places where I'm not present. I'm not
Right.
there, and I can't be there. And as they grow older and they become adults and they go and do their own things, God, I can't be there, but you can, you know.
And God is there. When you think that he isn't there through those traumatic experiences, that it's there. He's there, because it could have ended a lot worse, and it didn't.
Wow. Can you feel the healing on the home front? You're not going to hear this on CNN. You're just not. You're not going to hear it. So I do want to pivot a little bit from, you know, of course, it's a heavy topic of trauma, but I'm seeing everywhere in the headlines this topic of, I mean, almost using, I guess, our justice system to completely go against your adversary, like for example Biden, right? You know, he's obviously, I don't think he has a chance to legally win, so he's going after Trump, and then we've seen it even with General Flynn, going after somebody in lawfare. I guess that's what we're calling it, lawfare. What are some of your opinions on that? Have you guys kept up on some of the proceedings with all of Trump's trials?
I have not. I feel that if I did, I would be very angry, because here's an innocent man being attacked in every direction. And I come from a lot of violence. I'm feisty, and so I want to like slice the throats and punch the throats and all the things. But I feel like I can't, because it would rise something in me, and there's nothing that I could physically do.
Right.
So, like, what can little old me do other than use my voice and say something, right?
Absolutely.
So
Well, I mean, that's enough.
I have
It's
a hard
powerful.
time watching that.
Yeah.
It's rough. I am glad, though, that the judge approved his leave to go see his son graduate.
I did not know
Which
that.
is good. Yeah.
Yes,
His
I was
son
so
graduated?
thankful for
He
that.
can see him graduate. So that's
Sorry.
good. I mean,
Well, that's because someone said something.
right,
It's
we
kinda
all were
cute.
talking about
Yes.
it and how
Yes.
it looked very bad, and it was, you know, this kind of weaponization of justice, this heavy-handed way of doing things, because that was the first request that Trump made was, you know, before we get started, I would just like to be able to go see my son graduate. So the judge granted Trump to be able to go see Barron graduate high school, which I thought was really great.
I did not know that.
Yes, yes.
When did this happen?
It happened, I think, a couple days ago.
Graduate high school?
Yes,
College?
he graduated high school.
High school, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cute. But I think a lot of people just put a stink about it, and
Yeah.
we were all talking about it and saying how heavy-handed it was. And it was one of the first requests that Trump made when he came into the courtroom. Was like, I'd like to go see my son graduate, and it was turned into this like big thing where we
Yeah.
all were like, why would you not allow?
It really looks bad.
right.
It looks
It's
very bad.
horrible.
Yeah.
And even his attorneys who want to, celebrate Passover and all of their holidays, they're being X'd and said no. Like, are you serious? Oh my goodness, you're so funny. You're so funny.
I love
I
it.
didn't say anything.
I love it.
I was
It's
sipping
so
my
cute.
coffee. I love it.
You're mic'd, girl.
Oh my gosh. We are going to have more fun on the home front in just a minute. But before we go, I want to remind you guys, I have, one of our affiliate sponsors, which let's face it, we are a citizen financed, citizen run show, the home front. It doesn't happen without people like you. So we have affiliates. One of our affiliates is Purium, and I love it because they came up with the name Purium because it's pure and it's premium. So if you're like me and maybe you don't eat as well as you should sometimes, maybe you skip meals because you're constantly on the go. I know they have this, this is like a nourishing greens shake. So I don't eat my greens, I don't eat my veggies as much as I should unless I'm not as busy and home. This, you can dump 5 teaspoons into bottled water, shake it up, and while you're in the car, you can just kind of get your greens for the day. Actually, it doesn't taste bad. There's not really a flavor to it, so it's just kind of like you're drinking colored water. And you feel like you could turn into the Hulk afterwards, right? So you got to check out Purium. We have our own website for them. It's superfoodsup.com. Stay tuned for a few messages from our affiliates. We'll be back right after this with more of the home front.
I'm General Mike Flynn. Patriotism in America is under attack. America is the greatest country in history. Every home in America should proudly display their pride. Every home in America should fly Old Glory. And that is why at MAGA Realty, we give every home buyer a 25-foot flagpole and an American flag. Contact us today at MAGA Realty, where we will fight as hard for you as we do for America. Go to MAGARealty.com, MAGARealty.com.
Well, welcome back, America. Thanks for joining us. So we are here with these lovely ladies discussing a lot of different topics, but I have a special guest that I want to bring in. He's coming up into us remotely. His name is Steve Coderre. He is half of MAGA Realty. I'm going to welcome to the home front today, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Michelle, I appreciate you having me. When you say half, you need to say the better half.
Of course.
Oh, of course, that's what we meant.
I cannot agree nor disagree. I cannot pick favorites.
Well, I appreciate you guys, you ladies having me on the show today.
Thank you so much, Steve.
In that first segment, and you did an awesome job. And I was thinking about my 16-year-old self and what advice I would give me, right? And my advice would be, don't give 2 rips about what everybody thinks about you. You just get out on the path. And more importantly, kiss the girl.
Kiss the girl.
Good.
That's it.
All of our 16-year-old romantic selves just melted.
Oh gosh, That is so good.
You want me to kiss her? Yeah, kiss the girl.
She always wants the kiss.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
That's wonderful. Oh my gosh, you just melted every heart that's watching this too. So Steve, I know we've discussed here on the show before, we've talked about MAGA Realty. I have to know, how difficult was it, or was it difficult to step out and make that declaration, you know, we're just gonna go 100% in MAGA Realty, because a lot of people want to keep their political viewpoints out of their businesses. You didn't choose that route. Tell me about that.
Well, you know, that's an excellent question, and I'm going to go back a little bit about on this story, right? I'm going to go back to the beginning of the Trump campaign, the original Trump campaign, when he came down the escalator in Trump Tower. Shortly after that announcement, he had his first rally down in Sarasota, close to you guys, at the Robards Arena, and it wasn't his first Florida rally; it was the first rally that he ever had, and it was amazing. Cliff and I, the co-founder of MAGA Realty, we went down there for the rally, and there were thousands and thousands of people, an overflow crowd behind the building with thousands more, and this big, massive elephant with MAGA written on the side of it and Trump on the other side. It was just, I mean, it really was a spectacle. And so we went down there. We had no idea what we were getting into. We met with a lot of people in the crowd and talked, and then we went into the arena, and man, it was that we were there. It was unbelievable. It was just an amazing event. And you know, when we left, we were as MAGA-rific as we could ever be. So then you go, we win the election. Obviously, we know the story, and then you come into the next cycle when. And I heard you speak earlier, Michelle, about some things that people, you know, about like COVID and things like that. And, you know, the election, in my opinion, based on what we watched, was not done fairly.
Correct.
And so we saw that happen, and we saw the votes, you know, we saw Biden get the votes overnight that he needed in these states, that they miraculously showed up. And that next day, and that next week, and that next month, I was done. I'm like, this is it. It's done. I'm over. The entire thing is rigged. The one thing I've never liked about Trump is that he exposed the country for what it really is. You know, I still believe that, you know, we were the shining light. I mean, we were the shining city on the top of that hill that Reagan talked about. And but no, you know, our government and our deep state government is just as corrupt as everybody else. And he exposed that for me. And so when I watched what happened with that election, I said, I'm out. I quit. I'm done. You know, I'm gonna live my life and do my thing. So fast forward to when we started MAGA, to answer your question. I ran into Cliff. Cliff and I have known each other forever. We've done a lot of business together, and we ran into each other at our favorite lunch spot. He's like, I got an idea. I'm like, okay, tell me. I'm like, oh man. I was been thinking the exact same thing. You need to go all in on this.
That's awesome.
We need to run as hard as we can with the MAGA message, and we need to chase that clientele that you know, that feels like it's underserved and feels like it's not being heard, not only in our communities but up in Washington D.C. And so I came up off the couch. You know, Cliff, thank God, you breathed life back into me as it relates to getting re-energized. And so we launched it on July 3rd of last year, and we picked that date July 4th of 23, and we picked that date specifically because it was Independence Day. We really didn't start rolling it out for the fall, but yeah, and so I'm all in. I don't give a rip what anybody says. You know, like I said in the beginning about my 16-year-old self, I don't care. You know, I wear my MAGA realtor hat everywhere that I go.
That's so awesome.
I'm disappointed that I've yet to have anybody give me a hard time, though I do get some looks every once in a while.
Let him look.
And the only comments I get are very positive. So,
good.
So to answer your question, I was concerned because, you know, we're trained to make sure we cast a wide net, right? We don't want to alienate any customers. But in this one, we're going to cast as narrow a net as we possibly can, and we're going to go out and serve the community that believes in the America that we believe in, and that believes in the founding fathers, the founding documents, and they're sick and tired of all this stuff we're seeing on these college campuses and all the other woke nonsense that's trying to destroy this country.
Well, I love the fact that you're trying to fill a need. I think that is so courageous and so commendable. You can't change culture if you're not in it, right? I mean, we say this all the time. So thank you for taking the lead on that and doing that. I think it's something that is definitely needed, and I hope that you're very successful.
Well, and I love how you said, Steve, I love how you talked about getting off the couch, because believe it or not, you know, I knock doors right now, you know, for the election, and I hear that a lot. That there's now another I guess wave of people who feel a little disenfranchised, a little apathetic. They're kind of like, oh, what's the point? So I mean, what did it for you to kind of pull you out of that slump? Because you're right to be there. I mean, it's very frustrating. But what can we tell other people watching this to get them out of that?
That's another great question, Michelle. And I was just, I was really beside myself. I was on the couch. I didn't know what to do. Where do you get started? And you're watching the Republican Party rip itself apart with the MAGA crowd and the rhinos. And you go to any of those meetings, there's all that infighting, and it just was not. There's no place to go. But what it took was one man looking at me and going, "Come on, let's go, let's go." And Cliff said, "Let's go." And I'm like, you know what? I believe in Cliff.
Were you already a real estate agent?
People who believe in me, there's people who believe in you, and you just got to look in the eye and go, listen, we're doing this together. Let's go. Yeah. One person can make a difference.
Steve, were you already a real estate agent?
Yeah, I've been in this business my entire life. My dad was a builder. My mother was a banker. And I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't smart enough to figure out anything else for many years. But yeah, I've been in it my whole life.
Also, it wasn't just like you just woke up one morning and was like, I'm going to start a realty company. Like, that's good. Good to know. Good to know.
That's good. It's way long, I've been in it a long time.
And were you interested in politics before 2016?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Were you interested in politics before
Oh
2016?
yeah, I was dialed in big time. I used to, one of our state congressmen here in the part of Florida that we're in, I was one of his campaign managers. And,
Oh, wow.
I've been dialed in for a long time, but like I said, I really, I knew, we knew New Orleans was corrupt. We knew Chicago was corrupt. We knew parts of New York were corrupt, and and other parts of the country. But I didn't realize. I mean, I really was just naive and dumb. I really believed, I really did. I believed to the core that we really are these people in this country.
Yeah.
And what our founding fathers tried to breathe into us, right? I believe that, and I didn't really believe that the deep state, that the bureaucracy, and even though many presidents have pointed towards the bureaucracy, someone say that word.
Bureaucracy.
Pointed towards that and said, "Hey, this is a problem." Well, Trump pointed towards it and said,
Big
"This
time.
is a major problem," and he exposed it. And that really became disheartened from that. So, but yeah, I was heavily involved.
Awesome.
And I'm glad to be back involved.
Yes.
Well, I love it, and so it's not just the message that makes MAGA Realty different, but I've talked. We were talking on another episode with the other half of MAGA Realty, and just how you got started with this AR-15 sort of giveaway. I joke, Steve. I go in our neighborhood, and there's a lot of those ADT signs like planted in the yard, But I would rather have an AR-15, to be honest, instead of that. So what's the response that you get from your clients that they know that you're that bold, that you believe in the Second Amendment too?
Sure, they love it, and so far the majority of our clients have love the fact that they get an AR-15 shortly after closing. And there's been a few that didn't want it, so they'll either get a credit on their closing statement, or they can go and take the credit to the gun store and get whatever they want. They can get whatever kind of gun they want. And so it doesn't have to be an AR, but promotion is an AR, and most people take it and they love it. And Cliff's the guy. I mean, I have plenty of guns. You were at our shooting competition, and we had a ball attack.
I shot my first AR-15 there. Well, right? I was like just on the outside of the bullseye.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, you know what sucks? That wasn't my first time shooting an AR-15, but it was her first time. I missed every shot, and she made one.
And I brought that home, Steve, and I came through the door, and I was like, "Honey."
Uh-oh.
And he was like, I loved that. That was fabulous. That was awesome.
All right, well, that's big shout out to Mom for beating me.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, so the people love that. They love it, and they love the marketing side of it. But I personally, I think I kind of like pissing people off too much, right? So,
Yes.
no one's got mad at it, except we did have one realtor. We used to put riders, and we don't do this anymore because we're in the business to help people sell their home or buy a home. But for a while we were putting riders on our real estate signs that said free AR-15. And I got a call from a realtor, and he started giving me a little bit of business on the phone. And said, well, I would never sell one of your houses. I'm like, okay, no problem.
Oh my.
We sold it a week later.
Oh, that's funny.
But what I realized with that promotion is we're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize our customers' goals.
Absolutely.
To either buy or sell some real estate. So we don't use that kind of marketing anymore. But it was fun to trigger stuff like trigger.
We love the triggering. You're very triggering. You know, Steve, you guys do other events. I know you and Cliff do. Where can people go to find out more, not just about MAGA Realty, but also any events, patriotic events you guys might have coming up in the future?
Well, yeah, this actually, that's a great question, Michelle. This Saturday, we are holding a massive Trump boat parade up in the middle part of the state in Pinellas County, which is Clearwater, St. Petersburg.
So exciting.
And we're going to start in Clearwater, and it's about a 4-hour journey, two-hour journey from Clearwater down to Madeira Beach, and many people will know where that is. And so we're expecting, we have over 1,200 people who have signed up, so you figure that out, 2 boats. We're going to have somewhere around 600 boats in the parade. And during COVID, Cliff put on the same program called a Trumparilla, and it became a world record boat parade, which is awesome. And so we're doing that again this Saturday from 10 to 4 in Central Florida on the Gulf Coast in the Clearwater, St. Pete area. You can go on to the MAGA Realty Facebook page, just Google MAGA Realty. I promise you there's not another one. And you'll see that on Facebook, and all the information is there. And I don't know if Cliff talked about this, but at the end of the month, we are bringing the rally to Trump. And so at the end of the month, we are going up to Manhattan, right across from, there's a little park across from where the court is.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring the rally to Trump. We've already got the permits from City of New York. So we're just planning all that right now. And I know that we're working with your team down there on that.
Oh,
So
that's
exciting.
fantastic.
Those are 2 big events that we're really looking forward to.
That is fabulous. That's fabulous. I know a lot of people won't necessarily be able to take part in something like the boat parade. For example, this might not air until after it's gone, but you are streaming it on different services. I think, Brianna, didn't you say in the other episode, where can people go to see it? If they
Cliff
want?
said the Facebook. Is that right, Steve? That
I love that you just said the Facebook. Yep, it's going to be on the Facebook.
The Facebook.
It's going to be on the Google. It's going to be on the Facebook. It's going to be on Twitter.
The Twitter.
You know what's so funny? I'm the youngest one here, and yet you're correcting me.
We did say Twitter instead of X.
I love it because I still say that just to why people go, there's something wrong with him.
Well, Michelle Martin just brought up a good point. You just called it Twitter. It's actually X. So watch yourself.
Watch yourself.
I'm glad you got that.
I love it. Steve, thank you so much for joining us here on the home front. I want you live in the studio next
Yes.
time,
Yes.
okay?
And thanks for being a trailblazer.
Being that set and telling you what I pray for every morning and every night, I want to be on set all the time. Let me just share one last thing with Michelle.
Yes.
You got to go, but listen, we love helping the community as it relates to real estate. But if you're a real estate agent and you're a conservative real estate agent, and what we found is that the majority of real estate agents that are out there beating their heads against the wall every day, grinding, trying to help people find their way home, trying to help them sell their homes, they're mostly conservative. The problem is they work for companies like Keller Williams, EXP, Berkshire Hathaway, and those companies are not conservative. And you can go online and do your own research at opensecrets.org and see how much money they funnel to the DNC and all the woke nonsense that's trying to destroy this country. So if you're a conservative agent, and we know you control your dollars, you don't use your dollars for any of this nonsense, but the dollars you kick up to the company, the dollars that are moving through you up into the company, those dollars are being used to promote things that would keep you awake at night. So if you're a conservative agent, come over to MAGA Realty. We would love to work with you, and we promise you that no dollars, not yours, not a company dollar, will ever go to any woke causes or woke candidates.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Steve. That is awesome. We're glad you're trailblazing the way. We need more like you. Thank you so much for joining us on the home front.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. That is wonderful. My gosh. So it's inspiring to know that people are literally putting their money where their mouth is, right?
Right.
To be able to offer that with, it's similar to Patriot TV. Right. You know, what a concept. When a place like Fox News is no longer the conservative voice,
Right.
I mean, you start to realize, oh my gosh, it's like a facade that we've been living under for so long, right? So it's exciting to see people doing that.
And it requires a level of faith, right? You have to step out on faith and not worry about what other people think about what you're doing and just go do it.
You know, I found that like about 6 months into COVID, whatever that thing was, the pandemic, you started to see these videos of nurses that were in the ER or treating patients, and they were asking questions, legitimate questions about the plan of treatment. Why are we using ventilators to this extent? This person doesn't need it. And I'm watching, and of course, it was captivating, but I thought, I shouldn't share this because, or hit that share button on Facebook or wherever, because you just don't want to. At that point, it was different. I feel like we were living in a different world. You didn't want to be rude. I mean, even me didn't want to be rude. But then we all jumped over that hurdle, right? And I feel like we embraced a little piece of what our founding fathers had, that bravery that caused them to leap over a pond, right? To get out of their level of security and go, no, you know what, we're fighting for this. And so to see somebody like Steve and Cliff with MAGA Realty and Patriot TV doing that, this is...
Yeah.
This could catch on, and the country
world.
will never be the same because we'll actually go back to our original foundation of just bravery, fighting for our freedom. Was that a question? I feel like I just got on a soapbox. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think you're on the right path there with that. I think our country is obviously better when we have more creativity and more sovereignty and more ideas flowing through our nation than a corporatocracy, which is kind of what we're seeing. We have major corporations that have their hands in all of the small businesses, and it kind of crushes them. And I think that was a little bit of what we saw in COVID, during COVID, was when governments shut down everything and then they made small businesses police their customers, which is not something that you do. I mean, that's brown shirt like Nazism. Like, we don't do that. So to have people that are willing to step out on faith and to put what's in their mind or on their heart into practice and actually mold it and put it together, and that's a part of making America great again. It's not just a catchy phrase. It's action items that you can do to make your community better, provide a service, for the people in your community, for Americans, just to make their lives better. I love it.
Yes. Getting on your soapbox.
You just said that, and I was like, what?
Ooh. So welcome to, I love this. We have our Gen Zer who's on our panel. So it's just a phrase that means like, so back in the day, okay, wait, I'll go back to something that I know you know about. So remember when we watched the play Hamilton?
Oh,
yes.
Okay, sorry. See?
Definitely not rooted in all true history, just saying.
No, but in that scene where like they put a crate down or something and he steps up, they want him to speak in the square.
Oh,
That's kind of like your soapbox.
Oh, that's okay.
So if somebody's getting real preachy, now she's
elevated
going to use this
platform.
on me.
Good, I'm gonna use this.
She's going to use this on me at home. Get off your soapbox. But yeah, that's the soapbox scene.
You're like you're 2 minutes late for curfew. Okay, Mom, get off your soapbox.
She's already practicing. She's rehearsing.
That'll
You know,
be
one of the
grounded.
things that I liked about what Steve said
Yeah.
is he said that he thought that other places were corrupt, but here we were not as corrupt as we actually are. And I think if I were to try to present to other people, one thing to know is this: the country that you thought we were is not the country that we are.
Right.
And the faster that you can get there is the faster that you're going to start rebuilding. Right now, we're rebuilding
Yes.
a new future. That's what we are. The country we thought we had doesn't exist. We don't
It
have
hasn't.
3 branches of government that keep
Yeah.
each other in balance. That doesn't exist right now. So we're building a new country. That's what we're doing. And it's either going to be the Marxist globalists that win, or it's going to be people like Steve and started Patriot TV and you and all of us who say, we know who we are, how God created us as individuals to have personal responsibility, personal sovereignty, and when each of us as individuals en masse, at scale, respond and live in that way that God designed us to live, then we can take back the liberty where we have constrained government and personal responsibility again. But that's really the fight. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's the state versus the individual.
And it's a battle against ideology. Again, We're at a 1776 moment. It wasn't a revolution. It was a battle for our independence, and that's currently where we are now.
Again, it's like history repeating itself, but in a different facet, but still the same thing.
It rhymes.
So how are we repeating it? You know what I mean? Like
rhymes.
it does.
Doesn't really repeat. It rhymes.
That's
so true.
pretty.
That's so true.
Pretty true. Yeah.
Gosh, we're going to come back right after a few words from our affiliate sponsors, but I wouldn't be the patriotic person that we are if I didn't tell you about the new trailer, the new teaser trailer that's out for the Flynn movie. It's a long form trailer, and I really think that you should go to flynnmovie.us. You can watch the trailer there, but also pass along the message, guys. We have to tell people right now to go onto these streaming platforms. You can watch anything when you get home from work. Let's be honest, we can watch anything, but you have a chance right now to watch the true story from his own mouth. He's never been able to tell his story, his side of the story. You have a chance to watch that in the comfort of your own home. It's on almost all streaming platforms, Apple TV, YouTube, on Amazon. And what we're asking you to do is to pass along to your family and friends, to download, to stream the movie, but also to leave a comment. We want to make their algorithms go crazy. How wonderful would it be if come Saturday, right? Like I'm just a lib on TikTok, whatever, and I just go on to Amazon and I see all this stuff about the Flynn movie and all these great comments, and then I just cry my Trump derangement tears, and that would just be a wonderful way to spend
Give
the
it as a
weekend.
gift.
I did.
Actually, probably by the time that this airs, you'll probably have already missed the tour and all the premieres. So now would be the chance to buy the DVD or watch on YouTube, since you
Yes, that's true.
unfortunately missed the chance to actually
That's
meet
so
General
true.
Flynn.
We're going to be back right after these messages. Stay tuned for more Homefront. We'll be right back.
Considered highly skilled when it comes to intelligence gathering.
33 years in the U.S. Army.
Flynn knew exactly how the system worked. He knew exactly what the intel world had been up to. He understood its funding. They had to get rid of Flynn.
President's former national security advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleading guilty today to lying to the FBI.
There was a moment where I just felt like I was drowning.
ISIS as the JV team. Do you feel as though your warnings were ignored?
We all knew that he was one of the most respected generals in the military, plain and simple.
Well, in 2012, he was appointed director of Defense Intelligence Agency. He ordered the first audit of the use of DIA's use of contractors. This set off alarm bells.
So I'm in there with these other political appointees. They're all supposed to go in there and tell what they believe to be the truth. What they did was they took my assessment and they wanted me to change it. And I was like, I'm not changing it.
Mike Flynn, whatever you think of him or his politics, did not lie, but instead told the truth. And so he was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
President Obama said, but I do have one specific recommendation. Stay away from Michael Flynn. He's bad news.
I went into the service because I love our country. And I come home and I find out that the worst enemy that I'm going to face in my life is right here in America.
Even had he not served this country, even if he were not a combat veteran, to turn something like this loose on a family, I mean, it's monstrous.
The media was out there in droves.
I went into a very deep depression, like suicidal depression. The only thing that kept me alive was my son.
We always knew that we somehow had to get through it because we knew he wasn't guilty.
Over time, instead of being pounded down below the surface of the ocean, we started to fight. I'm now above the surface. but I can see the shoreline. And I started to swim.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Home Front. This is Michelle Posey here with our wonderful panel of guests. We were just talking a little bit during the commercial break, and probably a lot of people have felt the way Steve felt and the way that I felt. I don't know, was there that moment, guys, when you kind of woke up like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here? For me, I knew it was when I was watching those nurses, their videos, and I thought, wait a minute, if they're asking questions, maybe I should be too. Was there that aha moment for you?
I certainly had some questions like, wow, I didn't realize we had the blinders. And quite frankly, I was in the dark for a long time. And when I saw one of the videos on Facebook during that time where a doctor had his face what looked like almost bleeding from the wear and the rubbing of the mask, and I thought, what in God's name is happening here? What? And he's asking questions that were really thought questions for me to think about. And I thought, holy smoke, I need to wake up. Yeah. I need to wake up and figure this out. But I didn't wear a mask. Obviously, we were in Florida.
Right.
And I said, no, I have a concealed to carry. I use that as my excuse never to walk into a store with a mask until I got told,
but you know what?
I can't wear one.
Like let's go around the table. How did your life change pre-COVID, like your wake up to now, right? So he said he was a real estate agent.
Yes.
Something in him triggered and he woke up.
Yes.
And then out of that, he developed a new business model, right?
Oh, yeah.
What changed about your life?
You go first.
I became more politically involved and invested.
Were you
and
before?
I was not. I mean, I was just a stay-at-home mom, and I felt like I had no.
Easy and lovely?
Yeah, I just had no real drive to really do much of anything. I mean, I was dealing with trauma and I was depressed and I felt like I was just not productive and I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, I mean, I don't know, out of all of that, it honestly started with what was going on in California. They were trying to strip away medical religious exemptions from vaccinations. And since then, I was just like, I've always been a questioner. I've always asked really difficult questions. I don't like to just believe what people say. And so I was always questioning. But with that specific incident, something triggered. And I'm like, something's not right. And then leaning on my military experience and what I've grown up in, my dad was NBC, which has turned out to be CBRN, so chemical, radiological, biological, nuclear warfare. And when they started saying that there was a deadly virus, and I'm like, well, if I don't see our military in full mop gear, like in the hazmat suits, I'm not worried about it. Yeah. And that never happened. And so I was like, they're lying. There's something going on, they're lying. And then I saw videos of contradictions, right? You have TikTok videos of nurses like saying how difficult it was to treat people, and they were frozen vans with like refrigerator vans, and they were shoving people in refrigerator vans. But then you also had videos of empty hospitals where all the nurses were doing TikTok dances. So like, which one was it? Right? I mean, and then you had the whistleblower nurses that were going into some of the hospitals that were like, yeah, there are refrigerator vans, but it's not due to COVID, it's due to procedural. Like what it's treatment issues. It's not the virus, it's the treatment. And so all of that it was just looking at the contradiction and asking the right questions and then thinking about it. Like, what are we really doing here? So.
And then out of that, you got a new job.
Yeah.
Right? So
yes.
like it totally transformed your life.
I ran
like
for
Steve.
school board and I just was like, this is not happening. I didn't win, but God opens doors. Right? I was meant to run. To give me experience in the political arena. I plan to run again, so watch out. You
heard it first here.
Right, no. So, and I am more politically involved. I help candidates with their runs for office. I'm working with a fantastic organization, Moms for America. I'm on their national team as their civic engagement director. I help people understand proper role of government, because if we don't know our role as citizens in our government and we don't know the proper roles of those we hire to serve in our government, we're powerless politically. So all of that is important. I love what I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And now I'm here
Yes.
with you lovely ladies.
Right?
So I just, I
You're
feel
awesome.
blessed.
I think you're like, we talked about it one time before, Supermom. Like,
Oh, thank
that's
you.
Just
Absolutely.
incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, to that note, how do I follow that? For me, it was more about, again, the doctor that was online, and then it was a learning opportunity I took for me to know who my children were. Because we families always disagree and agree and go back and forth. But there was a point where I said to my son, you have allergy-induced asthma, and it affects his lungs. You don't have to wear a mask.
Right.
You don't have to wear a mask. And they are saying, I'm your mother. I'm telling you, you don't have to wear that mask. And he's like, oh, no, Mom, I don't want to. That's when I realized he's not a confrontational. He likes things to be happy and calm. And I never knew that about my son. So that, for me, was a learning opportunity about my son. But also, I took that as an opportunity on how to teach him to stand up for your rights, because you're not going to be a pushover. You're not going to let people bully you and do what they want to do and contradict what rights we have as American citizens. You are born and raised in this country, and you have rights. And this is what that looks like. And he's like, oh, no, Mom. I will never forget, because I don't go there anymore, but we went to a Target. And they were like, young man, you have to wear a mask. And, okay. And I said, take that mask off right now. And he's like, what? And he was like in shock. He's like, Mom, I don't like when you get like this. I don't want to make a scene. Please don't do this to me. And I said, take it off right now. We are not here for any other reason. If my money's not good enough because I won't wear a mask, and we'll never have to shop here again. Right. Well, we stopped going there for a lot of reasons, not that being the reason. But then even in Costco, I went into a Costco.
Oh, yes.
And I have a concealed to carry. And they were like, ma'am, you have to wear a mask. And I was almost cowardly, because I was using excuses not to wear my mask. And I was sharing that with my children. And then when that day at Costco, I think the guy got fired, to be honest. I walked into that Costco, and he's like, ma'am, you have to put a mask on. He chased me.
Wow.
He physically chased me in the store. Ladies and gentlemen, no one should be harassing you about wearing a mask or anything in that matter. And if they are chasing you, those are grounds for harassment to arrest them. Know your rights. This is what happened. The guy chased me, and then he touched me. And I said, 6 feet! 6 feet! Get away from me!
God!
And I said, those are grounds for harassment. You assaulted me by touching me. And he was like, oh, this guy was at least 6'5", 6'4".
I mean, you're not even allowed to chase a shoplifter. You're going to chase someone that doesn't have a mask on.
And I'm only 5'2".
Lord.
I'm 5'2". I'm this little scrawny person. But the voice that came out of my mouth.
Yes.
He was in shock, and you could hear a pin drop in that store. Somebody has that. If you got it on recording, please send that to me to dmstracco@gmail.com. Because I want to know. I want to know who has that video. Because I tell you, when I went into my car, my daughter was like, oh, Mama, I can't believe. I said, you don't let anyone boss you around. You don't let them tell you what you're allowed or not allowed to do. I am telling you, we have rights, and they get paid for us. They have a job because we go into shop.
I was refused medical care for not wearing one.
Oh my gosh.
It was bad.
Oh my God.
I lost it. And then to find out that during 2020, if you ran for office, you were forced to get COVID tested all the time. And I'm like, oh, but we're the free state of Florida?
Girl,
but you're
there's
still
a whole
forcing
chapter there. Yeah.
your candidates to be tested.
Oh wait,
every 2 weeks.
How about the Privacy Act? There's Medical Privacy Act. So now you're telling me to take a test
and show you the results.
And show you my results. What
It was
contradiction
wild.
is that?
It was so wild.
Oh, let me tell you, that was my feisty year. Ooh,
Oh, what
I
about
was
you?
feisty. What about you, honey?
Oh, well, actually, okay, well, when COVID happened, I was actually a big masker. Like, my parents would not, they would not wear a mask, and it would actually offend me.
Oh, baby.
And it was because of my friend group that I was around. Now, that's a completely different story.
Thankfully.
But what kind of woke me up was, like I said in a previous episode, fear of influence.
Yeah.
And also, I just really stopped caring.
Yeah.
Will any of this matter in 10 years?
No.
Will the people that I'm trying to impress be in my life in 10 years? I'm done caring about things that won't even affect me 10 years from now.
Wow.
Yeah. Guys, if you're young, even
you
if you're
go.
not, take
Yes.
And
that's amazing.
It's also a confidence booster thing. Go wear that outfit. Because people might look at you, but they're not going to remember you.
Right.
And even if they do, shoot, let them remember you.
I just love you, Brianna.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so beautiful.
So did anything shift in your life? Did you think, like previously, did you say, I'm going to be in, politics?
Well, I'll tell you, I never thought that I would be in politics, like, at all. And recently, I was kind of like, what could I run for?
Oh, yes.
I even thought about school board, like, currently.
Yes.
Because against who would have been Michelle's opponent.
Isn't
it? Why not?
Nice.
I mean, that's great. I mean, who wouldn't, right? There was, I think someone in 22 ran, just graduated high
19
school,
years old.
ran in Pennsylvania, and got elected, was the youngest school board member
I
to
didn't even
sit
know
in
that.
Pennsylvania school board. It was awesome. And he ran because he was like, you guys screwed up my high school year.
Yeah.
I didn't get to graduate. I didn't go to prom. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. He's like, so I'm fighting against it. And I thought it was amazing.
The
So,
founding fathers were young, so
They were.
Yes, they
Very
were.
young.
Yes, they were.
They were.
you don't need the middle-aged people.
I mean,
yeah.
why not? I mean, sky's the limit.
That's right.
That's very true.
My life radically changed. Before 2020, I was working at home, doing copywriting.
Wow.
Super simple, easy. I thought
Comfortable.
I thought life was fantastic.
Yes.
And then 2020 hit, and I saw everybody wearing masks, and I was like, why are they wearing their mask? And I didn't really get activated because I thought, Mom, I'm not wearing the mask.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I talked to people, and like your son, they didn't want to wear it, but they were doing it because they didn't want to feel uncomfortable. I thought, oh my
Yes.
goodness, we've lost this whole sense of
Yes.
personal sovereignty.
That is correct.
And that was so scary to me that I quit my job, and I tried to find an organization that had the sense of urgency of where we really are, but also an understanding of what the solution is.
Yes.
So when I saw this job I work for an organization also, it's called Citizens for Renewing America. And one of the things that really stuck out about it was they said we have to renew a consensus among the people that America is different with unique values that we need to defend. And this was the part that got me, the Republican Party isn't using its political capital to win the cultural fight, right? So we've lost half of the army,
Right.
like that we would be able to fight this with, and so we have to get that from the people because the political party's not doing it. So
That's true. That
was
is
awesome.
Well, not enough people have joined the political party, and that's where all the change is made. I mean, if you take a look at your local Republican Party, it's all older people. And then if you look at who is currently serving in Congress or currently serving in your legislature, they're all old.
And
I
they're
feel
just
young.
making donuts.
Like,
They're
I feel
not-
young.
they're
I'm a
not
spring chicken.
fixing
compared to them,
anything.
Spring
It's like-
chicken.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Your life radically changed.
Radically changed. When I tell you that my daughter and I, and my husband and my son, we literally in, 2018, sold everything, bought an RV, and went out west
Are you
into
kidding
California. She had what we thought at the time was a wonderful opportunity. She had an agent and a wonderful manager, Christian manager. How hard is that to find in Hollywood? So had a lot of fun. She was taking classes. It was great. She was, kind of doing really well out there. And then COVID started happening, and out there in California, when I tell you, they lost their mind. You could walk on the beach, but don't sit on the sand. You could, they had an 800 number. Well, they changed it towards the end there where you can walk, just don't sit and actually tan. Don't do that. They had an 800 number.
Smartest
They
virus
had an
ever.
800 number that you could call, that you were encouraged to call. There was a reward for calling if you felt that your neighbor was not wearing their mask in their house. So you had people it was off the chain. So we were going into Walmart and just not wearing the mask and people following you around, and it was interesting because I think even my husband was like, dude, seriously, let's just not go to Walmart. But I was like, no, you're not. And I would see people take their mask down and hang it over their ear because you're kind of giving them permission
Yes.
to kind of be a little bit of a rebel.
okay to be
They
the
look at
first.
you and it's like, okay, I see. I didn't really want to wear this
It's
either.
okay to be the first because I promise you, you will not be the last.
Absolutely. And so then, fast forward, my dad passed away, not from COVID, but from the mishandling of COVID. But we moved back to Florida to be closer to my mom, and I'm grateful we did because we were only out west for a year and a half. just long enough to see how crazy some of that is. Grateful to come back to Florida, but instantly when I got back, a friend of mine said, they're going to make kids wear masks in school. And I said, what? That's crazy. I mean, I can remember being on FaceTime with my dad in the hospital, and certain people in the hospital coming by and saying, if you just would have wore 2 or 3 masks, if you would have just stockpiled, you probably wouldn't be in here. You'd be home with your daughter right now. Telling somebody that in the ICU.
Narcissism.
Yeah. So I can remember that, and I jokingly say that the age group that COVID hit hardest was kind of like our golden generation, because they really wanted to do the right thing. They really wanted to not upset people. They really cared about just doing the right thing. So he would say to me, should I have worn 3 masks? Do you think that would have... And it was so precious. So I'm hearing these kids now almost being told the same thing, and I'm like, that's it.
How is that any different from blaming a child for being taken advantage of by an adult?
Right.
Oh,
How is that
exactly.
any different?
It's completely manipulative.
Yes.
And, so I realized right then and there, guys, that I didn't have to be overly political. Politics entered my life.
True.
It entered my life. So now the ball is in your court. What are you going to do?
Yep.
You're going to sit on your couch, and for how long? Because you can cry some tears, and there's a season for that.
Place for that.
If
right?
you get up and start building the new world.
You have to. And
Gotta
so,
get
yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we're building right now.
I love it. I love it.
Good.
Oh gosh, and this is why we're so grateful for you, Homefront audience, because I hope that what you hear on our set is replicated maybe even in your home. And I want us to give you encouragement, and I want us to help give you that little permission to say, okay, go out and get involved in your community. What does that look like for you? Here at the Homefront, we like to give homework. So my homework to you today is it's a call to action to go out and see what candidate that's running for office right now that you can help volunteer for. What is going to be posted as an amendment on your ballot. Every state has ballot amendments. Florida's got some doozies this election season. Educate yourself. Who's running in your judge seats? Who's running for your county commissioners? Go visit your supervisor of election site, see who's on the ballot, and start doing your research, and then get plugged in with a really good conservative club. I would say Republican, but some of our best clubs do not necessarily fall under the Republican Party, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So, yes,
I
Fiona.
have homework for Gen Z because it looks a little different for Gen Z. Maybe you don't know everything. So you have to take baby steps. And what I forgot to do, and I thank God my mom is involved, and so she reminded me to do this. When you turn 18, you have to change your party affiliation from an NPA to whatever party that you want to associate yourself with, which you can do online. So that's the first step, is do that before it's too late and you can't vote.
Because when you get your license, if you've neglected a party, and then they automatically put you as an NPA. And then she was like, oh gosh, I want to do this. So that's very good. Double check your voter status. We don't want to end here today, ladies, without praying. So there's tons of things we want to pray for. Join us at home so that you can pray with us as well. As we do this, I just want to remind you, it takes a lot to do this show. We couldn't do it without nourishment because, let's face it, we go through a lot of calories while we're taping this show. So I want to thank Cape Have Tavern. They are out of Rotunda West here in Florida. They catered a wonderful spread for us. You can visit them at CapeHazeTavern.com. Visit them. We want to thank them. Let's go ahead and pray, ladies. Are you ready? All right. Father God, we just come before you today, and we're just so grateful and blessed to be here today and to be able to do this in this free country. Father, we want to thank you for our roots that you've given us through our founding fathers. Lord, I pray that not only the Spirit of your Holy Spirit is within us and across the country and other believers and those that are watching, but also that spirit that our founding fathers had, that great American spirit that seeks out truth, that seeks out justice, that seeks out freedom, and tries to destroy bondage and evil. Lord, I pray that sweet American spirit sweeps across our country, that it revives now in Jesus' name. Lord, I pray that you go into our schools and into our businesses, into our churches and into our homes, and that you ignite the spirit within us, Lord, the Holy Spirit within us, to be able to thirst and want for you. Lord, I pray that your truth will be revealed during this time, and that we would be comforted even as we see the truth for what it is. Father, you know the beginning from the end. You're the author of all things, so we can rest peacefully, Psalm 91 in your arms. We give you thanks and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you. God bless you, ladies. Woo! Do you feel the spirit? Thank you, ladies. Thank you guys for joining us. Join us next time on The Homefront. Until then, you can visit us at thehomefront.tv. Pick up some great Homefront swag. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.